that the universal God made women and men made queens. The universal God made men and men made kings. The difference between a woman and a queen and a man and a king is the way you wrap the gift, nothing else. When you stop and think about it, we're the only slave in the history of the planet that didn't stay in bondage 5,000 years. Less than 3,000 years ago, when they came over there thinking they were stealing workers, they were stealing scientists. We built the pyramid. We talk about Africa. Most places you go in Europe and see all the wonderful pyramids. We built that. That's who we are. And now once we clean that out of our mind and interact, now I'm not going to lie to you. It's different between white folks and black folks. Sorry about that, white folks. And now these are two gentlemen here. They don't never say nothing about white folks. I do. I blame everything on white folks.
That's because some of my best friends are white.
And see, if I woke up this morning with a hemorrhoid, I say white folk did. Now I know you white folks ain't done everything, but most of you. And so now what we have to do is bring honesty. You know, we talk about stand your ground. We invented stand your ground with no guns. We march against armies, against cops. You know what it's like for somebody to call your house, King's house at 4 in the morning and say, I'm going to blow it up, and you can't call nobody because the people you would call probably made the call. Somewhere. And when you stop and think about what this movement, do you know a white woman before this movement couldn't get a job at the airport except being a stewardess. She couldn't handle bags. Huh? She couldn't wash the toilet. And then this movement came. Matter of fact, you older folks here know in order to be a stewardess, you couldn't be black, you had to be white, but you had to look like something out the center page of Playboy magazine. And this movement came through here and changed that. Anytime you get on a plane now and see an old, short, fat, ugly stewardess, he got
black, white, and the civil rights movement. I said we do focus on the civil rights movement and the march as black and white, but as you point out, it helped everybody. White women, black men, white men, because it was about the rights of all. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It was a universal movement. And I'm thinking about the people who served with me in the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, Japanese Americans, Japanese Canadians, people of all races and colors and creeds. Surely a universal collection of people, just a wonderful occasion. And I'm closer to these people today than I am to the people I went to college with, people I went to high school with, much more so than with these people. And the kinds of great people they were.
And are you hopeful about the future, Mr. Bowman?
I'm a natural optimist. I always think the best thing can happen, and in my experience it generally has happened. Sometimes bad things do happen, but I believe good things are going to happen. And I think if good people do what they should do and could do, they'll help those good things happen. You're the good people, and so it's up to you. You know exactly what it is you need to do. But I'm an optimist. I think everything will turn out all right.
And people do different things for different reasons. I got a cousin in St. Louis, Javo Jones, that's his name. And he went out to register for Obamacare the other day. For different reasons. He's going to take his Medicare card and go to the liquor store and swipe it. And his philosophy is if white folks can buy medical marijuana for cancer, black folks should be able to get some burgers to get this card.
I'm sure he's not alone in that philosophy. Somewhere. your what's next. As we talk about, you guys are going to live forever and certainly past where you are now. Can you talk about what you haven't done or what inspires you, what your what's next is? What's your life reimagined?
Well, I was born blessed, and I've been guilty about it all my life. Because my mother was a teacher and my daddy was a dentist. And I lived in a neighborhood where everybody was poor, but they were black and white. There was an Irish grocery store on one corner, an Italian bar on another. The Nazi party was on the third corner in my house. 50 yards from where I was born was Nazi headquarters. And so I had to, when people say, where did you become an ambassador? I said, right down Cleveland Avenue in New Orleans. Because I couldn't get to the store, I couldn't get to school. And then the hardest part was going out of that neighborhood to an all-black school, where I was the only one that had lunch money. And, but my father told me something about the Nazis. He said, he said, white supremacy is a sickness. Nazism is a sickness. He said, you don't get mad at sick people, you help them. And he took me to the movies to see Jesse Owens in the 1936 Olympics. And he said, see, when Jesse won the first race, Hitler got mad and left the stadium rather than put the Olympic medal on. He said, but Jesse was cool. He just went on and won 3 more gold medals and broke 4 world records. He said, don't get upset by white folks and racism. And he used to say to me all the time, don't get mad, get smart. Your mind is the most powerful thing you've got.
When you stop and look at it, see, blacks wasn't that good at athletes. When you got 99% of your black men want to be an athlete. And if you look at professional athletes in America, it's less than 2,000. That's all of them. So when you got a whole race of people, and you look at the respect, I'm a world-class entertainer. I set the world's record in the high school mile and didn't get credit for it because I was at the Negro meet. But there's people in this room here that have done more for the humanities than 99% of athletes and entertainers. Okay? And one day that's going to change. You know, when you stop and think about it. You know, an athlete and an entertainer is the only person to say, I like this so much, if I can get paid for it, I do it for free. You ain't never heard a garbage collector say they work for free. And so as we sit down and look around, and the input from women, they said, well, there's more women in law school now. It didn't mean they just got smart. They was always smart, but they couldn't go to law school. Okay? There's more women in medical school now. They always had that. But when I was a little boy, you come home, you throw your books down, and you go out with basketball, football. We didn't permit them to do that. So they sit home and study. And so that's what has happened. And you're going to see it change. The mindset's going to change. I was telling some folks now, you know, we got a lot of police brutality, but these new white cops, they different. Why? Because they went to school with you. You're not scared of them. You were scared of me before you got a gun. Okay? And so you got a white cop pull up to my cousin in St. Louis and say, excuse me, sir, it's the white cop. Because, yeah, what you want, honky? I just want you to know you didn't stop that. Stop. I slowed up. And white boy took that knife, hit him upside the head. Said, now you want me to slow up or stop? You driving. I'm sitting on the passenger side. They just nice and pleasant. You call him all kind of names. Hit you upside the head. Then come over to my side and hit me. I said, why you hit me? Say, I know you. Block away. You say, I wish that cracker would have hit me. It's changed. And it's not going to stop changing.
Last comment as we wrap up.
I thought we were going to talk about the March on Washington and Dr. King's speech. And in the immediate aftermath of the commemoration of the 50th anniversary of this, I went to Andy and John Lewis, who couldn't be here today, to a series of forums to talk about this. I've kind of talked out about that. It was a wonderful occasion. I'm glad I was there. But I'll tell you one story which doesn't have any seriousness about it. At the March on Washington in 1963, each of the civil rights organizations that sponsored the march gave staff people to work with the march itself. And my organization, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, volunteered me. And one of my jobs was giving Coca-Colas to the movie stars. And one of my fondest memories of the March on Washington wasn't Dr. King's remarkable speech, because I've heard him speak before, and I knew what a wonderful speechmaker he could be. But one of my fondest memories was giving a Coca-Cola to Sammy Davis Jr., and he said, "Thanks, kid."
I just found out the other day that when we had a group of people arrested in Savannah, Sammy Davis found out about it and sent the bond money out of his pocket. In St. Augustine, when they arrested 6 young people for picketing Woolworth, Jackie Robinson and Rachel Robinson not only bonded them out, but sent them tickets to come and live with them in their home in Connecticut and took them to the New York World Fair. Harry Belafonte took you and a whole bunch of young people to Africa at his expense. That there was a responsibility, and a lot of that was Paul Robeson's influence, that there was a sense of responsibility for those of us who were blessed and had wealth to take care of the least of these and to raise up another young generation. And so, I guess, I don't know how much I learned in school, because I didn't make very good grades and I wasn't interested in what the teachers were interested in. But I tell you, my grandmama made me read her the Bible and the newspaper every day, because she lost her sight when she was 80. So from 80 to 88, that was my job. When I came home, I had to read the newspaper and read the Bible to her. And every day from 80 to 88, she used to fuss with God about taking her home. She wasn't the least bit afraid of death. She said, "I've done all I can do here. I'm ready to go home." So I grew up with no fear of death. And yet, I realized that the reason she was kept here, even though she was blind, was she taught me to see. And so,
we have to wrap this up, but I know you have to do service.
Children don't listen to their parents, but they will listen to their grandparents. So we need you.
And thank you, and that's a wonderful note to wrap up this incredible historic panel. And I'm personally thankful, and I thank you for all of AARP and our listeners, and thank you each for teaching us how to see and reminding us of the power that we hold. And what we have to do is vote and get active and use humor, which you've used your lifetime, to diffuse incredibly tough situations. And I thank you all.